All right, so I'm on Idealista.com, and this is one of the most popular websites to find an apartment to rent in Spain. You can also buy property on this website too. Or lastly, you can rent a room in a shared apartment. So let's go to alquilar, which means rent in Spanish. And we're going to go to Barcelona and we're going to go to Exemple, which is a pretty center neighborhood in Barcelona, and we're going to see the prices of rent to get an idea. I'm going to order it from the cheapest first, and I'm also going to filter it to the precio max. I think the max that anybody should really pay in Barcelona for a one bedroom apartment would be max 1,300 euros, and the cheapest, let's be realistic, it's Barcelona. I'm gonna go with 850, the cheapest. And we are also going to put in a one bedroom. So we don't want studios. And I'm going to go with equipamiento, basically means if you want it furnished or not, or if you want the kitchen furnished. So if you want the kitchen furnished, it'll usually include things like a laundry machine, a refrigerator, and sometimes a dishwasher too. And amueblado means furnished, and then that means the whole house is furnished. So I'm gonna go in diferente. I don't know if you would prefer your house furnished or not. So I'm just gonna go in different and see what comes up. And then I'm also going to go with exterior, which means you get outside light. Because in Spain you have exterior apartments, which are outside, and interior, which basically mean inside, and you might not have that much outside light, and that's not a vibe. So I don't recommend that. And let's go ahead and see what these 30 results show. So we are here, and the cheapest apartment on this list in Exemple that was actually just listed 23 minutes ago will run you 880 euros for one bedroom apartment, 40 meters square. It's on the sixth floor, exterior, and without an elevator. That is terrible. Okay, so let's see here. The pictures look nice. This looks like a very cute apartment. Love. Also love the floors. Okay, super cute. You also have really nice lights, which I love. Okay, great. That's the bedroom, little living room, bedroom, closet, terrace, hallway, kitchen, hallway, bathroom, apartment building, hallway, front door. Okay. So let's see what this says. Okay, look, this is an alquiler de temporada. If you have seen any of my recent videos, I've definitely mentioned in one of them that there is a housing crisis in Spain. It is very noticeable, especially in big Spanish cities. So keep that in mind if you want to move to Barcelona or if you want to move to Madrid, because it is very competitive to find a decent apartment. And if you do not have a lot of money to dish out, you might not find something that you like. So just keep that in mind. So this is a temporary rental. Let's see what this says. I'm just going to put this in English so you guys can read too. English. Okay, this is a seasonal rental available from September 1st. Okay, what's the rental period? Send WhatsApp or message in Idealista indicating the rental period and the reason for this day in Barcelona. So it looks like you'll just have to contact these people to see the duration that this temporary rental could be. Because this is a temporary rental, they're also charging you a deposit of 1,760 euros plus an agency fee of 880 euros plus VAT, which is same tax. So for you to be able to get this apartment, you would need to dish out 3,520 euros and you would get your deposit back of 1,760 euros. And there is such crazy demand in Barcelona that if you do not pay it, somebody else will in 5 minutes. So not to worry. All right, this is another alquiler de temporada, 900 euros a month. I'm actually going to go to, instead of just baratos, I'm going to go to recientes because this will show me the most recent listings and this will be able to tell us if a lot of this stuff is just alquiler de temporada, like this one as well in San Antonio. Alquiler de temporada as well. Alquiler de temporada. Okay, this is not alquiler de temporada. Let's see what this says. Okay. This is San Antonio in Barcelona, and this is an Ático, and this is on the fifth floor, exterior with light, so outside light with elevator. 65 meters square. So here's the photo of the terrace. Okay, the inside looks nice, very nice and spacious. You got a hallway, bedroom situation, bathroom, kitchen, balcony, terrace, and that's it. That's all the pictures. This actually looks like a decent apartment. 65 meters square, I think for 1,300 euros. That's quite steep for the size that you're getting, but you're in Barcelona, so I guess that's what you can get with that price. But San Antonio isn't even that central either, so like I don't know, location also matters too. So make sure you look into that when you're moving to Spain, that you're reading the fine print. Okay. So the price of the apartment is 1,300 euros and you have to make a deposit of 1 month. So this is actually a really good setup, especially because, like I mentioned before, your landlord can make the deposit what they want. So this is really low for only 1 month deposit. So this is nice. This looks like a decent apartment to possibly rent. And this is with a rental company. This doesn't look like particular, so you would probably have to pay an agency fee too, but this looks like a good apartment. So 1,300 euros in Barcelona. I am now going to go to Madrid so you guys can get an idea of what Madrid would cost you. And I am going to search in Callao, which is a very central neighborhood. So you guys can see what that would cost if you want to live in the city center in Madrid. Okay, I'm going to go to some filters and I'm going to go with 1 bedroom and the minimum size of this 40 meters square. The maximum price of this would be 1,300 euros. And let's see what these 12 results show. Okay, so 950 euros a month for 57 meters square. It's on the 3rd floor, interior, which means indoor, limited outdoor light, and without an elevator. Let's see what this looks like. 57 meters square. This honestly isn't that bad for Madrid because sometimes you get shoeboxes and sometimes you get home runs. So you definitely just have to look in regards to searching for an apartment in Spain. And when I mean look every day, nonstop, till you find what you like. Okay, this is a decent apartment. Modern, not too small, especially for being in the center of Madrid. 57 meters isn't super big, but it's reasonable. And I think for 1 or 2 people, this could be really nice. It also looks like a very modern kitchen, which is great. And like there is the kitchen refrigerator and things like that, which is nice too. Here you have a bathroom. Here's a map, and then that's it. So let's see what this says. Apartment in the center of Madrid next to Gran Via, fully furnished kitchen, community fees included, minimum 1 year renewable contract, electricity and water separate, ready to move in, 1 month's deposit, ideal for couples. Agencies need not apply. Okay, so this looks like particular. Yeah, and it is particular. So when it is particular versus a rental agency, you'll see that in the bottom where it'll say particular and then it'll say the person's name. And yeah, this looks really good. I honestly would possibly rent this apartment if I had to move to Madrid too. It's center, it's good size space for living in the center, good floors, good condition, modern. I think the only thing that would be left with this to make sure that it's legitimate is to see it in person. So this looks good. Let's now go to another example to see what they're charging in Madrid. All right, so the next house is a temporary rental. So I'm not going to click on that because I want to show you guys long-term rental examples instead. This one's 1,050 and this is in Malasaña area and this is 48 meters square, 1st floor exterior without an elevator. Something to note in Spain, the 1st floor is technically not the 1st floor. If you're American, like they consider the ground floor here to be 0. So the 1st floor is not the 1st floor to an American, probably. You would probably consider it the 2nd floor. So this says it's on the 1st floor, if that makes sense. Anyways, let's click into this and see the details of what this apartment looks like so we can get an idea. Okay, we have this apartment, this living room. It's furnished. Okay, it's the living room, bedroom, living room, kitchen, balcony, bedroom, closet, bathroom, kitchen. the view from the balcony. Okay, so this is 1050 and let's see here what this looks like. Okay, so here, like I mentioned before in the other listing where it said the deposit information, if you scroll down at the bottom, sometimes it'll give deposit information. Sometimes it says it in the immediate information of the listing, but if you go down to the precio, it should say the fianza. And here it says fianza of 1 month, so deposit of 1 month. And this is a profesional, so this doesn't look like this is only a particular. This looks like this is part of a rental agency. And you could be able to distinguish if it's a particular or an agency really quick. And keep that in mind because if you go with a particular, that basically means you're going to have a direct landlord, and that will probably be cheaper than going with the rental agency. So it's just something to keep in mind. It could, however, take you longer to find an apartment if you do go that route of only particular, but it usually is always better to go with a particular because you save money and you're working directly with the landlord, so there's no misunderstandings in the end. Okay, so that is that apartment in Callao. No, this is in Malasaña, sorry. Okay, here we have another apartment. This is a seasonal rental. Let's just go into this so you guys can see what this looks like. This is the living room. Very beautiful floors. You got some couches, other side of the living room, hallway, kitchen, small fridge, bedroom, closet, sink, bathroom. This looks like a very beautiful apartment. The only thing is that it would be a pity if you really want to stay there long term and then you have to keep moving around just because you choose a short term rental. That's the only reason why I don't really recommend short term rentals if you want to come live in Spain, unless you're only going to stay here temporarily. If you're only going to stay here temporarily, then of course it makes sense. But if you're planning on staying here long term, might not be ideal. It can maybe be chaotic, especially when you need to get that deposit back and maybe that landlord or that rental agency is not answering your texts or your phone calls as quick as they should. These are just things that you want to keep in mind, you know? And this doesn't say anything. Let's see if this says anything about deposit. Doesn't look like it does. No, it doesn't. Then you have another seasonal rental, and then you have this big floor for 2,500 euros. This is a studio, 1,150 euros, short term rental in Madrid, in Malasaña. Like, that's so expensive, in my opinion. All right, let's go to another neighborhood in Madrid. I'm going to put in Retiro so you guys can see what that looks like. All right, so I've gone into the Retiro section of Madrid on the Idealista website to see what comes up, and I'm going to put some filters. I'm going to set this for 60-meter square size, and the max price will be 1,300. I honestly think a very healthy budget to live in Madrid or Barcelona, especially if you're living by yourself, would probably run you from 900 euros to 1,300 euros, in my opinion, for you to find something nice, clean, modern, and in a good area. If not, you might want to start thinking about possibly sharing an apartment with someone if that's too expensive for you. With that being said, let's go ahead and see what these 11 results show. All right, so we have this apartment that's 1,200 euros, 1 bedroom, 60-meter square, bajo. So bajo means ground floor. Exterior, so outdoor light with an elevator. And let's see what these 43 pictures show. So here is the living room with the balcony situation right next to it. You have some nice wooden floors, kitchen, sofa, bedroom, window closet, sliding door terrace, closet, kitchen, living room, window, front of the building, living room, other bedroom. Okay, cool. So this looks pretty spacious, to be honest. Bathroom. And this also looks really modern, which is nice too. Some of these listings on this website could get very old and then it's like really weird furniture. All right, so this looks really good. Spacious, modern. This is the kitchen. So let's read what this says. 60-meter square. And let's see what this says. Beautifully, recently renovated apartment, fully furnished. We present this magnificent, recently renovated apartment, fully furnished and with a fully equipped kitchen with appliances. Large living room, terrace, American kitchen, bedroom with 2 built-in wardrobes, full bathroom, central heating and hot water. This says very well located with 2 metro lines, bus stops, easy access to the M30, Black Panther properties. We are a young company with a modern and creative vision in the real estate sector. Our passion for service, professional ethics, and transparency are our pillars to provide the highest quality service, focusing on the needs of each of our clients. Okay, cool. Let's see. There's allowed to be 2 people who live here. It accepts kids, it accepts pets, and it accepts people with reduced mobility. So that's great. And let's see if there's any information on deposit. Okay, great. Here it says fianza de un mes, which means deposit of 1 month. And if you ask me, this looks like a fantastic apartment to go look at. The only thing is that you would need to keep in mind that this is with a realtor agency. So you're going to have to pay a realtor fee plus that 1 month deposit, plus anything that they might throw in here, because obviously you're not seeing all the details and reading the fine print. So just food for thought. Before I forget, when you're looking for an apartment to rent in Spain, something else that's very important to know is this thing right here that's called Certificado Energético. And that basically means energy certificate in English. And that means that they give this apartment and every apartment on Idealista a letter for how much the apartment consumes energy. So here you see a D and emisiones, which means emissions, also a D. So that could mean that in the winter in Madrid, if you have to turn on the heating system, that could add up really quick. So this is a very important question to ask the landlord or the realtor if you were to view this apartment. Like, hey, Manuel, this looks like a fantastic apartment, but I'm concerned. What about in the winter when it gets cold in Madrid? What would my bill look like in regards to energy? Because it's important to know this because it could get very cold in Madrid. So, food for thought. So the last place we are going to go to check for apartment prices in Spain is we are going to go to Malaga. So let's go ahead and go to the center district of Malaga to see what an apartment would cost us there. And let's go to the filters. We are again going to be renting. We're going to put a max price of 1,300 euros. And we are also going to put the minimum space 60 meters square. We're also going to put exterior because remember we want light, and let's see what that shows us. Okay. Ordenar por baratos. Okay. All right. So here we have the first and the cheapest listing on this list. That would be 780 euros a month, 70 meters square on the second floor, exterior without an elevator. And this is also a temporary rental. So something to consider if you only want to stay in Spain as a short time. Short-term rentals could be good if you want to come visit Spain and you're not sure if you want to maybe live here, see what day-to-day life could be like. That's when I would definitely recommend a temporary rental. But if you already know you want to live in Spain and you don't want to be moving around, I would recommend to get a long-term contract and avoid all of that frustration. Okay, the next listing on this list is 800 euros a month, 2 bedrooms, 70 meters square, exterior without elevator. This is also a seasonal rental. I'm going to try to see if I can find a regular apartment. Okay, look, this is interesting. So let's go into this listing. This isn't a temporary rental. It's 60 meters square, 800 euros a month on the fourth floor, exterior with an elevator. So let's see what this says. This says solo funcionarios. So you might be wondering, what are funcionarios? Funcionarios are basically a type of worker in Spain. And I think this means that this person would rather have someone who has guaranteed employment than have maybe frequent touristic movement. So they would rather have someone with a steady and consistent and stable income come rent this apartment. And I am curious to see if this says any information about the deposit. Okay, it says deposit 1 month as well. So this looks like it's a particular as well. So this is a landlord, direct landlord. And let's see the pictures of this place. So these are the views, the kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, dining room, kitchen, living room, living room, hallway, bathroom, bathroom, bedroom, and that's it. To be honest, this is a great deal for being in Malaga, especially for this price. The only thing is you just need to be a funcionario if you would like to qualify for this. So this isn't the best example to show for Americans who would be moving to Spain possibly. Okay, this is another short-term rental, contrato temporal de 6 meses. So that means a 6-month temporary apartment, alquiler de temporada. This is another temporary rental in Malaga, another temporary rental in Malaga, another temporary in Malaga. Wow, this is crazy. And I think this is why a lot of people who are Spanish and are Spanish citizens are definitely getting over these temporary rentals. It's like every one, if not every other one. And I think that just goes to show how much of a hotspot it is. There is a major housing crisis in some of these Spanish cities, and that's something you want to keep in mind because if it's going to be very competitive to get an apartment, perhaps you might want to go somewhere else. So, could be some food for thought. Outside of that, it looks like it'll probably run you 800 euros being on the absolute cheapest end to 1,000 euros something to rent something decent in Malaga in the city center or around the city center. This looks very nice. This is just with a rental agency, so you'd probably have to pay a fee for that. This is a beautiful apartment, finance of 1 month. Okay, let's see the pictures here. This is a very beautiful apartment. Very beautiful, very modern. This looks like a home run. Somebody wanted to rent something like this. Very spacious, very modern in the city center of Malaga. First floor, even without the elevator. Technically second if you're American, but this looks super duper nice. The only thing is you would have the 1 month deposit, and since this is with a rental agency, they probably have some hefty fees to go along with that. But all in all, this looks like a very beautiful apartment. Then we have some other ones. This is in the historic center of Malaga, and this is 1,000 euros, 70 meters square, 2 bedrooms, third floor, exterior with an elevator. So outside light with an elevator. This looks decent. Let's see. I'm personally not too crazy about the furniture, but the floors and the furniture look really modern and in good shape, which is nice to see. It's in the historic center too, if you like history. Bedroom is very small. It's just the bed and like one or two more things. So yeah, this could be an interesting listing as well. I'm personally not too crazy about the furniture, but the point of this and giving you guys these examples so you can get an idea of what the apartments look like in Spain, the sizes, how much it costs, and all that good stuff. And let's see if this says the deposit information. So we have an idea. This looks like this does not have the deposit information. So if you were interested in renting out this apartment, you would contact this person and you would say, hey, I want to have a visit. Can I do a tour? They would probably say yes, schedule you. You would go see it. If you like it, then you can ask them all the questions you have. And that's pretty much it. All right, and that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed learning about how much it costs living in Spain as an American. To recap, we went into my Google Sheet that broke down all the expenses for this past month, so from mid April to mid May, and we went into all of those costs, American USD, euro currency, and we came to a grand total, and we even were able to dissect on certain expenses that we could cut back on next month. So I'm actually curious if I try to save even more money next month, what I can get my expenses down to. So if you're curious, I'll actually do another video where I'm trying to save even more money. And the last thing we did was we went onto a popular Spanish property website to see the rent of a 1 bedroom apartment in a popular Spanish city. I hope this video helped give you major insight into how much it costs to live in Spain. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share with a friend who also wants to move to Spain, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the next video.